this camera feel.
What do you mean?
No, I'm just so fantasized by the quality of the camera and like how small it is.
Yeah, that is good.
The kind of magic that it's able to
It
do.
works.
Yeah.
Well, this is an interview I've been wanting to do for a long time. Abdul Rahman, we met 3 years ago at
Yeah.
the same spot at Kilifair.
100% the
And
same place.
same place, bigger place this year.
It,
And
very good.
you are one of the content creators in Tanzania. I
Yeah.
admire your work.
Thank you so much.
If you want to check him out, Abdulrahman Abel from Tanzania. He's on Instagram. And also, of course, he's a freelance photographer. So if you need photography for your lodge, for your vehicles, what else do you do?
Ballooning, guest experience, whatever it is that either a client or a business might need in terms of documentation, visual documentation, in terms of photography and video. um, I can be of value to them.
Perfect. Great. So how did everything started? What's your journey? What's your story?
Okay. I think my journey started like I think most people, meaning it started through television.
Okay. Wow.
And I remember growing up, I used to spend a lot of quality time alone, especially with the TV, and National Geographic was always one of my favorite channels to watch besides Cartoon Network. Um, and I think I was just so fantasized by the natural world, or the with like wildlife and just culture and just travel in general. And I was fortunate, with my two parents, my dad being a guide.
Your dad was a guide.
Yeah, well, still he is, but
So you grew up in Tanzania, obviously?
yeah, I grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my mom worked in my mother worked in hotels and lodges.
Wow.
She worked, in Serena for
Really?
years.
So maybe when I was a little boy, maybe I met your mom.
100%,
That's
100%.
incredible.
So again, I think that was sort of the attraction. But again, I think fast forward to when I graduated from university, so I did multimedia, and then it was time for me to kind of like develop a career out of it. It was kind of tough in terms of like the employment market in Tanzania, and I kind of struggled for a bit. And I just had a conversation. It was more of a family conversation where my parents told me, actually, maybe you can also try to explore, like the tourism side, because it's something that since just a child, you've been exposed to and you've always loved. First they said I've always loved people, I've always loved wildlife, and I've always loved travel. So they paid for me to do a tour guiding course.
Wow.
And
Cool.
very grateful I did it. And in 2018, that's when I officially got into the field, where I started as a Spanish speaking tour guide. So I speak Spanish too as well.
Speak Spanish as well.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Incredible, yeah. And then I think now coming back to photography, I think my love for photography, or just content creation in general, started there.
Okay.
And it started with something very basic. I remember owning an iPhone 6 at the time.
Cool.
And I think, and again with social media, that's when I started exploring. That's when I started, just really trying things, right? And I think I was fortunate enough to meet Fahad around that time when I was starting, and he was one of my biggest inspiration. I think he's the number one person that made me wanna hold the camera. I think he, just being around him and him mentoring me, he just gave me this push. And just another story was, I had a friend of mine who was named Dedan. So Dedan had an extra camera that he was not using, so he gave me the camera. And Fahad gave me a lens, basically. So that's how I started how I like photography. So this was probably like 2021 ish.
So right during COVID, actually.
Like literally right during COVID. And I have to I have to say, ever since I've never stopped. And
Yeah, I see that.
and I just kept the camera with me
Awesome.
everywhere.
Thanks for sharing that. How do you see now? Because now we're living in the what you can actually call, when everything is said and done, when we have the history books closed, this is probably the golden age of
Yeah.
safari for Tanzania.
100%.
How do you experience it as a from because you're the representing the Tanzanian young generation. You
100%.
said your mom was if you want to call it, like a pioneer in this golden age when the Serena started, the
Yes,
sopas came.
yes.
How do you see the development with your own eyes, being a kid that grew up here, seeing your parents work in the industry, and now as a young adult who is actually also part of this beautiful Tanzania tourism bubble?
I think I would talk about it in a few ways. I think the first thing I would say that uh like my generation, we're very fortunate that there are more opportunities that are exposed to us. Um, I feel like back in the days, I remember I was fortunate to go in the field with my parents, see them work. You really had to be, you had to be like the filtration process was like very, very, very immense. Um, and I think the in terms of like now with the golden age and everything and how the business is developed, I think some things are just so sort of easier, but also the one thing that I've realized, or maybe a slight downside, is the standards have kind of dropped a bit.
Can you explain that?
Okay, for example, this is a conversation I have with my mom every single time, right? One time I went to one of the properties with her, which is on a restaurant, and she was observing like how the bartenders were doing, and she just told me that she said like there's basic etiquettes that some other people don't have. That she told me like back in her days, or even my dad would tell me there's basic etiquettes that's a guide today. That back in their days, you know, you wouldn't even be in that position. Meaning if you didn't have that, right? And I kind of feel like also that's came because of how tourism has grown as well, where the demand for employment, demand for talent has also grown immensely. And I don't know how. I think the production of talent also is not the same as it used to be, because back in the days you would never be in the field if you won't go through like a trainee period and etc. Right? And a lot of the people that were, like the big companies like Serena, like the Ambiance, the Celia, the Singitas and etc. Like listen, the Leopard Tours and all these things. Like for them, they should be like this process, right?
Exactly.
But
You had
now,
to climb a certain ladder.
yes,
Yes.
but now that's somewhat dissolved.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking this that it's again it's in between, where it's good and it's bad in the same way, where it's opened doors to a lot of people to be have the opportunity to do something. But also I think when it comes to the standards now, that's something that the industry is struggling with it, I would say. But another thing I would say is like you said, we're in a golden age where, and it's just incredible in terms of investment, in terms of opportunities, in terms of exposure.
Yeah.
Tanzania as a destination.
Exactly.
I would say we're very fortunate.
And you don't even need to point the finger on the map anymore when you talk about Tanzania.
100%, 100%.
Because there is so many landmarks. I mean, just throwing out there Kilimanjaro, everybody knows. Although they might have never seen it,
100%.
they know how it looks in their head.
Yes.
Serengeti, the Lion King, it gives people an image.
Or exposure.
And Zanzibar is also adding to this whole Tanzania product. Let's talk about other parts than northern Tanzania.
Yeah.
The south, the west, the center. It's so rich of national parks.
Yes.
What can we do as parts of this industry to promote it better?
And okay, I think the first thing I would say is, I think, it starts with people like me, you, meaning that, we should try to push to shed more light into these places, meaning educate people outside, like how we've spent all these years educating people about the North, which
That's
now
true.
it's,
So it was also a process. You're right. Yeah.
I think we should also try to fuel more exposure towards that side, meaning like content creators like me, business, like all the shareholders, meaning businesses, investors, tour operators, agents, they need to educate and push more towards that. But also I think, coming from the government, I know they're really pushing to build the proper infrastructures to support tourism in the south, or in central, because these places haven't been you know never had the capacity, or never hold the traffic. So there needs to be some sort of preparation to have that also for it to be able to receive. And I think the other thing is we just have to. I think we were speaking something about greed. I think also people should take out a little bit of greed in terms of like trying to sell the north
Yeah.
more um, than the south. I think I met a lot of people here in Kilifair I met a guide. I met people who were tour operators and lodges and even every single day I try to educate myself in terms of seeing stuff on content on YouTube. And I really feel that the south and the central part of Tanzania, even the western side, um, they're they deserve the same recognition, the same traffic, the same regard compared us to the north. And even for me, I'm being very honest. Probably next year, I really want to invest my own time, my own money to go to the south and explore it and really just bring in more recognition. And hopefully, I'll be doing my part. But I still feel like we as an industry, we as everyone, we need to to put in more effort into pushing this out.
Thank you, man. Thank you for this. This was a very, very inspirational video for me. And it was a video that I've been wanting to do since I met you, actually. Happy we didn't do it online. Happy we did it face to face here at the place where it all started. And
100%.
my message to everyone watching is be motivated, take the opportunities this country and also our industry has, but do it the right way. Listen, learn from experienced people, and find your own path.
100%. And I think, like I said, Tanzania is a beautiful country. It's more about the national parks. It's more about the beaches. I think we as a culture, we as a people, just really make the whole traveling experience worth it. And I feel like Tanzania is one of those destinations where your investment will be worthwhile.
Absolutely.
I gotta say, I gotta give it up to you, Richard, and her who's moving around us. For really pushing Tanzania. I'm learning a lot of stuff through YouTube, and I love how you guys take time to use your creativity to push Tanzania in a way of you guys, because you guys are just having fun exploring, because that's part of your hobby and what you guys enjoy doing together. But
That's it.
I love how that's also contributing to pushing like Tanzania as a destination, but also educating people about the whole African safari or travel experience in general. I think all your guests really find it valuable. I find it valuable even as a person who's here because, man, this country is huge.
It is.
And I think I'm not always going to be fortunate to be at every place, but having people like you who I can just do it in the comfort of my couch, YouTube TV.
That's very comfortable.
I really appreciate you guys and also what you're doing right now. Giving exposure and giving support. You've been one of my biggest supporters ever since I started, and I think for that I'm immensely grateful. Not just me, but all my peers, and I just think that the Tanzanian, just country and destination in general. So we really appreciate that. So
do we.
You guys keep pushing.
Exactly. We
Great
keep
job.
doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you
so
man.
much, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you too.